So you want to know how to do this. 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 And of course, this in the attack choppers. Well, you're in luck, because today I, expert battlefield pilot TheBoredBread, have put many hours of effort into densely packing all of my experience all the way from Battlefield 4 to 2042 into this one highly informative and easy to understand video, the Battlefield Attack Chopper Guide to rule them all. Today you will learn all the secrets that allow top pilots to stomp lobbies in any title, including Battlefield 6. These secrets include the most optimal helicopter settings and binds, key movement mechanics, defensive flying strategy, and offensive flying strategy. And if you stick around until the end, you will get the chance to see me put these secrets into practice with some dominant solo attack chopper gameplay with live commentary, giving a unique peek into my real-time thought process as I fly. Don't forget that each of these chapters are built into the video's progress bar below for your convenience. Alright, enough talk, let's get started. Despite the fact that the optimal settings for flying helicopters are often overlooked online, they are truly a surprisingly important aspect of my own personal success with battlefield aircraft in general, and I mean it. Switching from the default to this optimal control scheme was the first necessary step in my transformation from a great pilot to a top-level pilot. This best control scheme I speak of is actually my own personally optimized version of the already established mouse and keyboard aircraft control scheme called rifle aim. For my console players, if you insist on using a controller, which by no means dooms your success, this chapter will unfortunately be mostly useless to you. However, if you're considering the switch to mouse and keyboard, now is your chance, as Battlefield 6 will allow the use of mouse and keyboard on the supported consoles. A final note before we begin. Since I will walk you through this section in Battlefield 2042, some of the settings may go by a different name in Battlefield 6. If you get confused here, just drop a comment and I'll get back to you ASAP. With that out of the way, let's get right into how to set this all up. Alright guys, to set up our mouse and keyboard settings, we're going to go to Options, Mouse and Keyboard, Vehicles, and the first setting we're going to look at is Vehicle Mouse Aim Sensitivity, and I recommend setting this to the same sensitivity as your on-foot soldier mouse aim sensitivity, okay? You can adjust it later if it feels, too low or too high, but I would recommend starting here. And the next thing is our vehicle third-person field of view. We're going to set this to the maximum setting, and this is going to give us the biggest view of the battlefield when we're in third person, and that's going to, in turn, increase your awareness. All right, next, under the zoom section, we're going to set the vehicle weapon zoom to toggle. Even if you play with hold when you're doing infantry, I would recommend putting toggle for when you're in vehicles, because often in vehicles, when you do zoom in, you're going to hold that zoom for a very long time, and it can get pretty tiring if you use hold. Besides it just being, less tiring, you actually focus more on aiming with your mouse when you're not holding down aim. And then under the pilot section, we are going to turn our helicopter control sensitivity all the way up, and that's going to increase the responsiveness of the helicopter. We're going to turn this setting off, unless you're used to having camera roll. Setting it off is going to improve your visibility, and we're definitely going to set this damn setting off because it just completely screws up your aim, so definitely turn this off. And the last section, advanced, we're going to set uniform vehicle aiming to on, and we're going to set this coefficient to 0. And that's basically going to remove any multipliers that are present when you zoom in, and that's going to improve your muscle memory when you're aiming. All right, now that we're done with all of that, let's go do our key bindings finally. And once you do that, make sure you're under the helicopter menu, submenu, okay? First thing is exit vehicle. We're going to set this to something you won't accidentally press, okay? I think it's E by default. Don't use that. We're actually going to use E for something else, so definitely don't set it to E. But just don't put it to something you'll accidentally press, because the last thing you want is to accidentally get ejected. For me, that's the B key, but, pick whatever you'd like. And then for change seat, we're going to set it similarly to something we won't accidentally press, but we also want it to be something we can press really quickly. And the reason for that is you're going to be using this if you're flying a solo attack chopper and you want to seat swap, right? You want to switch from the pilot seat to the gunner seat really quickly to, mow down some infantry. You're just going to press this one button. And for me, control works really well for that. But to ensure that you can actually switch back to the pilot seat, we have to go to this gunner submenu and set the same keybind for change seat and vehicle, okay? Once you've done that, let's go back to the helicopter section. And then for chase camera, we're going to set this to a mouse button or something you can press easily, because we are going to be switching between first and third person a lot, okay? And then for ping, similarly, a button that you can press really easily. The reason I'm using mouse buttons here is because I want to offload as much work from my keyboard hand and put it onto my mouse hand, because I'm already doing so much with my keyboard that I find having on mouse buttons is really handy. Now that we're done with general, let's go to movement here. For throttle up and throttle down, that's standard, W and S. Our keybinds for yaw are standard, but we want to add our mouse binds. And before you do that, you may have to clear your mouse binds for roll, okay? So clear those. And then what we want here is, since we want to yaw the helicopter to the right when we move our mouse to the right, the way to do that is to click here and then literally just move your mouse to the right. If it doesn't pick up that input, you're going to have to move the mouse faster, and then it should. And for yaw left, we're going to use the A key, and we're going to do the opposite here. We're going to click and move the mouse to the left. Okay? Pretend these are switched. I think it's because I have inverted flight on for some reason, but let's just assume this is pitch up, right? We're going to have space, analogous to jumping when you're playing infantry, right? And then for the mouse, we're going to click this, and we want the aircraft to pitch up when we move the mouse up, right? So we're going to click here and move the mouse up. For pitch down, I use C because that's my crouch key when I'm playing infantry. And for the mouse, we obviously want to pitch down when we move the mouse down. So we're going to click this and move the mouse down. And then for roll, you're going to have your mouse binds cleared, and you're going to want to add some keybinds. Normally, rifle aim users use D and A here, but since we're keeping that on our yaw controls, we're actually going to do the keys just above D and A, which is Q and E, right? And then here's view rear camera. I also have this set to a mouse button. You're going to want to use this, when you have a chopper on your tail, or just to see behind you, essentially. And I like having that on a mouse button. And the very last thing here is our assisted flight button, okay? I put this on shift because it makes, it's just easy to press while I'm flying and doesn't interfere with any of my other controls. And it essentially stabilizes the aircraft and smooths out the aircraft's response to your inputs. And it is very useful, but the only time you're going to use it is when you're giving your gunner an angle, okay? What it does for the gunner is it basically throws off their aim less when you input things to the helicopter, because that movement is smoothed out. You definitely do not want to press this key or hold this key down when you're aiming, okay? Because it's going to throw off your aim. So only when you're giving your gunner an angle, okay? And that should be it. Weapons and equipment is all standard. It's just preference, to be honest. So yeah, we're done with our mouse and keyboard settings. All right, now that you have the most optimal settings and binds, let's load up a Portal server and figure out how to maneuver the attack chopper with these new controls. Don't worry, I'll be taking you from not knowing how to control the aircraft at all to being able to maneuver in the most efficient manner. Note, if you are watching this after Battlefield 6 has released, just see the pinned comment for my Battlefield 6 Portal codes alongside all the other codes. The specific Portal experience that we are first going to load into in 2042 is going to have instant vehicle respawns and a 3.5 times vehicle health multiplier, so that we can be as productive and efficient in our initial training as possible. The extra vehicle health will be especially useful for practicing to improve our accuracy with the rocket pods, first against bots. The only issue is that these servers do not allow you to farm for the helicopter's upgrades, due to the multipliers. Don't worry though, once you have done all the necessary practice, if you need to farm upgrades, you can switch to my other Portal codes that will not have any multipliers and thus allow you to farm upgrades for each attack chopper in the fastest amount of time possible. Alright, let's get into the cockpit. Alright guys, to load into our Portal server, we're going to go to Portal, Host, Experience Code, and you're going to enter the following code, okay? The code is AB7N8C. And you're going to click Confirm, and this screen should pop up. And if you don't want some random person joining your server, you can set a password, and you're going to click Host Server. And if a little red, dialog box comes up when you press Host Server and it says, it fails, you're just going to keep spamming the Host Server button and eventually it should work. All right, we're going to pick our helicopter here, and it's going to take a couple seconds to start while it fills the lobby with bots. All right, guys, the first thing we're going to learn is gaining and losing altitude. So the first and very basic way to do this is to press your S key to lose altitude and your W key to gain altitude. Pretty simple, right? But to do this faster, what we're going to actually want to do is swing the aircraft backwards and forwards as we're holding the W key. And you can do this two ways. You can, use your pitch controls with the keyboard, space and C, or you can use your mouse, to swing yourself backwards and forwards. And this is just a much faster way to gain altitude. And now a faster way to lose altitude, instead of just holding the S key, is to point the aircraft down and hold the W key and just fly straight down. I mean, obviously you can also roll using Q and E and flip yourself upside down to lose altitude really quickly. But just make sure that you correct before slamming into the ground, okay? And the next thing we're going to learn is how to turn, right? So the first thing you can do is just press W and A, right? So we're just yawing. And you can also do this with the mouse, but as you can notice, if you want to turn quickly, it's more efficient to use your key, okay? Your keyboard. With this in mind, now we want to know how to move forward, and honestly, all that is just holding W and pitching down, And we turn using the yaw key and roll using the E key so that we're, upright. But now this brings us to turning faster than just yawing, right? And the way to do that is to roll using your E or Q key and then pitch up. So you see how I'm turning quickly, and then obviously roll back to get back to a normal position. So let me do that again. You're rolling and then pitching up and then correcting. So look at the difference, okay? So if we want to do a 180 and we just hold the A key, it takes a pretty long time, right? But if we roll and pitch, it's quicker. All right, and if you want to get fancy, you can actually turn even faster by rolling, pitching up, and pressing your yaw key in the same direction that you're turning. So as you can see, I'm just keeping a roll inwards, pitching up, and holding down that yaw key. And as you can see, I'm turning way faster than I would be if I were just yawing, and faster also than if I were just rolling and pitching up. So that's how you turn and control your aircraft in general. You understand kind of how to move. Let's just practice moving around buildings, right? And using all of these inputs together. Once you feel relatively comfortable, we're going to focus on 3 main maneuvers, okay? And practicing these are going to give you a great understanding of how the helicopter controls. So the first thing is literally just swinging back and forth from left to right, peeking on the other side of a building. So let's go to this building here. You can go into first person, and we're going to swing over here using the Q key, and then swing to the right using the E key, right? So we're peeking either side of the building. And you're going to have to pitch up, so that you don't run straight into the building. But essentially, you just want to practice this, right? Now that you have this down, we're going to actually circle the building. And the way you're going to do that is you're just going to control your roll while holding the W key. And each time you want to turn pretty sharp, you can also just press your yaw key. It's kind of hard to explain because it's honestly just kind of intuitive to me at this point. But you can look at my inputs, obviously. I have them on the screen. But you want to practice just circling a building. And let's try to make it really smooth here, okay? And if you want to get, challenge yourself, you can make it as tight to the building as possible. You can also go in first person. Oh, let's not hit the building. And now we're going to go to the top of the building, and we're going to circle the roof. And the reason why we want to do this is, in helicopters, it's an essential feature to be able to basically circle strafe. And that is essentially just circle a target, right? So let's practice doing that. So let's pretend, we're circling an objective with enemies on it. We're just doing this, right? And let's dive down, lose altitude really quickly, and start circling the building. And then once we get to one side of it, let's push back and swing back and forth. And now, our final maneuver is to do a rapid rotation behind cover. So let's find a little bit of cover here. Let's say there's a wildcat behind me and he's shooting at me, right? Actually, this is a perfect opportunity. Okay, so yeah, let's pretend, we don't have flares. They're locking onto us. Let's try to get behind cover and then really quickly turn the helicopter behind cover, okay? You're going to use this often when you're getting shot at, right? So I'm getting shot at, dive behind cover, and then turn as fast as possible using our roll, pitch, and yaw combination. Alright, I mean, honestly, what you can do now is just start doing combos of this, right? So let's just circle this. Now that we have to pop flares, let's duck down and quickly turn. And let's go side to side to kind of look at the enemy that locked onto us. Who was that? It was that ram, wasn't it? And yeah, just keep messing around with these maneuvers and moving around the map and becoming more and more comfortable with piloting the helicopter. Alright guys, now that we're going to get some practice done, if you don't have the rocket pods, the anti-vehicle rocket pods, instead you have smart rockets because you don't have any upgrades on the Apache, go into the pinned comment and switch servers to the server that allows you to actually get upgrades. And what you're going to want to do there, once you're in that server, is you're going to want to basically just fly to groups of infantry, switch seats, and just light them up with the gunner seat. And it's going to be really easy to just farm a bunch of kills doing this, essentially. And after a little while, you'll have all your upgrades, and you definitely should equip anti-vehicle rocket pods, tow missiles, flares, and repairs. So, now that you are capable of controlling the helicopter, it is time we talk about staying alive in the air. While there is little actual threat to you in these portal servers, since the AI are pretty stupid, it is important to understand these concepts I'm about to explain to you, and you should begin putting them into practice as soon as possible. Let's start by identifying our top threats that are most capable of taking us down by making an ordered list that goes from most threatening to least threatening. The first type of threats are enemy aircraft, which includes enemy helicopters, then enemy jets, and finally, never forget, parachuting and in 2042, Pond Hawk engineers. The second type of threats are all forms of AA, anti-air, which I will describe to include every single deployable ground vehicle, since every single one of them can be equipped with some kind of effective anti-air munition. But, most importantly, AA tanks, railgun tanks, and vehicles with flak pods. Engineers with shoulder-fired rockets and missiles, recons with SOFLAM, and stationary AA units, only some maps have them. So yes, there are a lot, but I promise you will learn to identify all of them with ease. Understanding this list is important for keeping up as I dive deeper into the strategy, and also will later help you with deciding your target priority. Now that you understand your threats, I'm going to reintroduce and refine a concept I came up with in my attack check guide, the concept of safe zones. Understanding safe zones and how to use them is arguably the most important key to survival. Safe zones are essentially all of the areas on the map where you are either out of range from enemy AA units or not in their line of sight. This commonly includes your spawn airspace and the edges of the map, but can also include spaces behind buildings or mountains from all AA units' points of view, and within valleys. The difference between this concept when applied to jets and when applied to helicopters is that while jets can escape to these safe zones faster than helicopters due to their greater speed, their movement restricts them to only be capable of making use of very large safe zones. For example, the roofs of these objectives on the map Spearhead are certainly enough space for a helicopter to hover and hide from AA, but for jets, this is obviously impossible, unless you go into VTOL mode with the F-35, which is just asking for death. You get the idea, right? So, what is so important about these safe zones then? Well, if you follow these two rules regarding safe zones, then you will increase your survivability massively. The first rule is to begin vigorously scanning the battlefield for enemy AA units each time you leave any safe zone. This is extremely important because you do not want to accidentally get too close to any of your threats if you do not have to. Awareness is key. Note that the rule only mentions enemy AA, and that is because you should always be scanning for enemy aircraft, even while waiting in your safe zones. There's always a chance that your enemy will take a stab at ambushing you from above. At first, this may take up like 60% of your brain capacity and be kind of exhausting, but over time you will get so efficient at this, even at a map-by-map basis, that it will become somewhat of an unconscious process. The second rule is to always have an adequate route planned back to a safe zone, so that as soon as you take significant damage or have to pop your flares, you can start heading there and ensure that you will arrive before getting shot down or before your flares run dry. You want to avoid overextending if possible. Once again, at first this will take much intentional thought, but as you begin to understand the layout of every map more, and just the process in general, it will become an unconscious thing you do. These two rules alone should protect you from 95% of ground-based lock-on weapons. But what about air-based lock-ons? For Stinger pests, you will have to use either cover to block, or a Blasco jammer, as you see me doing here. For helicopters and jets with IR missiles, you can't reliably dodge them, but alongside Blasco jammers, you can also just simply fly close to the ground below radar to prevent locks, which is super useful. I will cover this more when we talk about dogfighting with other helicopters. Okay, now that you can mostly guarantee that you very, very rarely will die to lock-ons, what about dumbfire AA munitions, such as AA gunfire, tank shells, and shoulder-launched rockets and guided missiles? To reduce your risk of dying to all of these, except TGM list missiles, the trick is to keep your distance and, when in their range, fly in a curved line rather than a straight line. For example, take this situation here where I'm flying over and, thus, am in the range of many engineers. I am keeping the aircraft steady for my gunner, but despite this, I am taking a curved flight path and am reasonably far up from the ground in order to make it as hard as possible for them to line up, say, an RPG shot. Of course, you need to be aware of where all these threats are in order to be able to keep your distance and know when you have entered their range, which is another reason why our first safe zone rule, to begin vigorously scanning the battlefield for enemy AA units every time you leave any safe zone, is so important. Okay, now, this is the last thing for defensive flying, TGM list missiles, which are probably the most efficient air counter in the game. Thank God we are not in the stealth helicopter, which can't survive even a single one of these missiles. So, here, keeping a distance and taking a curved flight path is just not enough. We are going to have to actively dodge these. As soon as you see the red light of doom coming towards you, what you should do is immediately start heading towards it. I know, it sounds counterintuitive, but it is actually going to give the missile controller the least amount of time possible to react to your dodge. Then, as late as you dare wait before the missile hits you, you're going to have to learn this timing yourself, the best thing you can do is dive slightly towards the ground and roll to one side. The reason we want to dive is because vertical adjustments are hardest for TGMs to account for, and helicopters are capable of losing altitude quicker than we can gain it. Now, if the TGM is coming from a different direction and you do not have the time to turn towards it, honestly, you're just going to do the best you can to do the same thing, but by using the sound cue instead of watching the missile with your eyes. Obviously, in this case, I would personally play it safer and assume the TGM is closer than you think. One final piece of advice on this. Whatever you do not ever turn the broadside of your helicopter towards the missile, no matter what. We want to provide the smallest profile possible for the player to try and hit. Alright, now that we can finally survive against all that AA, we can start talking about blowing shit up. Hell yeah! One thing you may notice is that in the previous section, I barely talked about surviving against enemy aircraft despite it being our greatest threat. This is because when flying any helicopter, the best defense against enemy aircraft is actually almost always overwhelming offense. I promised, and trust me on this, even against pilots that are vastly more experienced than you, your only real chance of survival is to ambush and kill them. The only other way you may be able to survive is by hiding like a rat, and let's be honest, that is simply a waste of time, and more importantly, a waste of the aircraft. Okay, so now that we're going all in on offense, instead of being a noob and using IR lock-on missiles, I implore you to learn how to be accurate with the rocket pods, because once you get them down, holy cow, you can become a serious force to be reckoned with. Let's jump into that portal server so I can show you what I mean. Alright, so once you have all your upgrades, we're going to come back to this, this custom server with the multiplied vehicle health, and the reason we want to be in this server specifically is because even if you hit your rocket pods, I've already hit 3 of them on this jet, and he's not even flying towards me, they're not going to die because they have a lot of health, so this is going to be excellent practice. So, first targets we're going to worry about are enemy helicopters. So, here's a stealth helicopter, right? Oh, he's low, he's going to die in like 1 pod or something. But what you're going to want to do is, when you're far away, you're going to aim directly at the target, okay? But once you get closer, you're going to recognize that the pods they kind of converge. Like, you can draw a line with them, right? They kind of converge inwards. And once you learn that line, you're set. You're golden, basically. Another thing to account for is the actual travel time of the rockets. But once you understand that, you're going to be able to fly pretty close up to helicopters, enemy helicopters, and just absolutely destroy them. Like this. I had hit, like, I don't know, like maybe 8 pods there. So that's excellent practice. And because the vehicles instantly respawn, there is a Nightbird over there, and they're spawned. So let's go kill him now. Nightbirds obviously are the hardest kind of target to hit with rocket pods. But once you practice, you can actually do it pretty effectively. Obviously, it's always helpful to have a gunner to help you out.
Hostile helo! 200 meters away!
But if you really focus... I'm obviously tired right now, so I'm not hitting all my pods, but you can get pretty accurate. my god, I'm whiffing. Alright, let's finish this guy off. Boom. Alright guys, looks like another chopper spawn. Let's just get really close to him. And I'll demonstrate to you how to use both sides of your rockets even if you're close, okay? So even though we're close, if I swing the helicopter back and forth... Oh my god. You can land all your rockets and kill the target really quickly. Obviously, in a normal game, that's going to be 1, 2, 3 dead. Instead of, you know, I don't know how many rockets that was, but it's going to be a quick end for them. The best practice is just, honestly, just killing these helicopters as soon as they spawn. And while you're waiting for those helicopters to spawn, you can honestly go for some jets. And while these are really hard shots to hit,
300 meters away.
it's absolutely excellent practice. So even I'm having a hard time. What? Okay, there we go. Okay, boom, we got it. Ooh, that almost hit. That one did. If he comes at me, I'm using a tow missile, absolutely. Boom! That's so fun to do, oh my god. Here's something about tow missiles that I bet you guys didn't know. If you miss the target, and the tow missile goes past it, if you hold the laser on the target, it will forever go for the target. Like that. So even if you miss the target, it can wrap around. So, I told you that in helicopters, the best defense against enemy aircraft is actually overwhelming offense. Well, the one exception to this are noob jets and helicopters that excessively keep their distance. The epitome of this behavior in 2042 is definitely skyboxing stealth helicopters all the way up in the sky that stay in stealth mode. If you chase these goofballs around, it either is going to be a waste of time or simply become too risky if they lead you over to their AA or far away from any safe zone. Instead, you are going to bait them in by flying low below them. If they take the bait, you are going to have a trap ready for them. But if they don't take the bait, you can probably safely ignore them until it is convenient for you to quickly dispose of them. Here's what the trap looks like. You're going to fly low, directly under them, using your radar to ensure that you remain directly below them, and then begin circling. Since they cannot aim directly down without pitching down and losing a lot of altitude, they're going to quickly start falling. Then, at the perfect moment, you're going to stop circling and quickly pull back and gain as much altitude as possible. If you pull this off properly, they should end up right in front of you, or even better, below you. From here, you're going to send them straight to hell with your pods. For jets, since for the most part, the only time you are going to be effective against them is when they are flying straight at you, if they are keeping their distance from you, you should just ignore them and assume your friendly jets will take care of them. Alright, now that we know how to dogfight, we can finally talk about the primary purpose of the attack choppers: strafing enemy vehicles and infantry. First, let's talk about attacking enemy AA tanks and ground vehicles. Even though I don't always do so, I believe that the best policy is to always assume that the vehicles have APS, Armor Protection System. So, what you're going to want to do is find any safe form of cover nearby them and shoot a tow missile and some rocket pods at that AA tank, only diving behind cover just before they hit you with a lock-on missile or do any significant damage. If you land your tow and missiles on target, there's a 90% chance that if they have APS equipped, that they will just have used it. Now, you wait for a few seconds, and then come out of cover and begin a full-out assault with your remaining tow and rocket pods, moving erratically as you approach to throw off their aim. Unless you're actively aiming at them, then you should be relatively stable and prioritize your own aim. If you get very unlucky and they hold on to their APS until the last second, you're going to have to either retreat, if there is some convenient cover very close nearby, and then reset the process, or if there is no such cover, as is usually the case, you're going to have to stay directly above them where they cannot aim at you until their APS runs out. Taking out all of their ground vehicles is a similar process to this. The only thing that changes is how you prevent getting shot down by their specific anti-air munitions. Okay, the last type of targets are infantry, and you have a lot of tools here to obliterate them. First thing to note here is that if you hit a pod directly, you can kill a soldier in one shot. However, since this is practically impossible to do reliably, just focus on hitting 3, or 2 if you're very accurate, on individual infantry targets. If you do some experimenting, you'll also notice that tow missiles do even more damage than the pods and have greater splash damage. If you see a group of more than 2 enemies, or one enemy that you really need to kill, like a stinger, I would always recommend using a tow missile plus a pod or two. Otherwise, I would save your tows for any vehicles that may appear. All of this advice for effectively strafing enemy infantry targets applies if you're flying with a random or average skilled gunner. However, if you're a confident pilot and want to do solo attack chopper, if you're in a safe and comfortable position to seat swap, then using gunner seat will almost always be more effective at taking out infantry. I mean, just look at how fast you can melt them when seat swapping. However, this all gets thrown out the window if you have an excellent and dependable gunner, not some random gunner, and want to maximize the kill output of your attack chopper. In this case, you should leave all infantry targets, except for stingers that lock onto you, they need to die immediately, and perhaps absurdly large groups of enemies, to your gunner. Assuming that they are skilled enough and that you keep the aircraft stable, they will simply be more capable of killing infantry than you will, no matter how good you are. And this should be obvious from the footage you are seeing, as I have my friend Arrow in my gunner seat who is an excellent gunner, and since I'm keeping it stable for him by rolling as little as possible and using the assisted flight button to smooth out sudden movements, he's able to rack up loads of kills. Another benefit to leaving the infantry targets to your highly skilled gunner is that you can focus more on maximizing your uptime by cleverly positioning yourself and timing your passes such that your Belasco jammer can be used as a second set of flares, as you can see me doing here on Spearhead. Alright guys, that is pretty much everything you need to know to dominate in the attack choppers. It's time to move on to some solo AC gameplay with live commentary explaining my thoughts as I fly. Alright guys, here we are on Valparaiso. We're doing some solo attack chopper. Looks like the game is filled up. Let's see how it goes. See how many kills we can get here. Okay, so the first thing I want to focus on is their air, for sure. And yeah, let's just take out this attack chopper really quickly. Alright, so we got that down, which is super handy. I'm actually going to put a Belasco down here so I don't get locked by anything. Alright, let's take out this UH here. Oh my god. Let's clean up that aim. Alright, they bailed. You locked me, eh? Kill him. Oh, there's a ram here. They took out my, looks like they took out my scanner. That's no good. Let's hide in this safe zone here in this little valley. Let's kill that ram, because he's causing problems. I just popped APS. Alright, we got him. Little fadeaway. Let's put our jammer back up, because that is super useful. Alright.
Enemy infantry! 150 meters!
Alright. I didn't quite see who shot that at me, so I'm gonna hide right here. Alright, there he is. I think we got him. Just shoot a tow missile at the problem and the problem will disappear. Alright, I do see a chopper up on my radar. So I'm definitely gonna go after that next. Okay. Shit, unfortunately when you first take off, you actually don't get... Alright, we gotta run. We both don't have flares and don't have a lot of health. And something besides the UH is, like, picking on us, so... Let's bait this UH in, pull back here, and then... miss every rocket pod. Okay, there we go. Holy cow. Almost took an L right there, but we're good. Let's reset. Okay, so looks like we don't have these back tubes. Okay, here's a Liz missile we're gonna lose some altitude. And I'm not doing a very good job dodging that, but thankfully his aim was very poor. Normally you want to wait till the last second to go at him. I thought it was sort of like this. Yeah. Not even close. Okay, here we go. Alright, got him. Just keep it moving. Do some landscaping, take down some trees. Alright, looks like they're shooting a lot of lock-ons at me. Thankfully, we can just hide in our spawn here. I'm gonna look out for the chopper, because it should be up soon. We already have 20 kills, though, so that's really good pace. Alright, here's the Liz missile. Just duck under that. Alright, someone's spawning in a wildcat, so... let's figure out who that is and kill them. Fortunately, I think they got into it, so let's go kill him. We're going to start with our tow missiles, of course. Ah, there he is. He's not even looking at us, so I'm just going to go. Right in for the kill. Okay, he popped his APS. Alright, we were able to kill the Wildcat. That's good. Now we just have to dodge this missile. We're good. We can actually stay by this jammer here. This looks like there's a Vulcan turret up and a Nightbird in their spawn. So I'm going to take out this Vulcan turret first, wherever he is. There he is. Got two of them right there, that's good. Alright, now we need to start worrying about that Nightbird. Also see a UH over there. I'm always looking for air targets coming for me. Okay, there's the UH, yep. He's coming for us, so we're going to have to completely prioritize him. Alright, let's bait him in. Yep, we're baiting him in. He's doing a lot of damage, unfortunately, but we're about to do way more than him. Boom, got him. It's that easy. Take out this Jeep here. And the guy that was in it. Oh, that's flak. Run! It's all flak in the air. And we got hacked, so we really do need to go. Oh! Duck behind cover. Alright, we're doing good work. At least our team has taken C1. I'm not going to push up beyond the map until we take these base objectives, because they're just key to winning the game, so... definitely gonna wait until we get that done. Oops. Right, there he is.
250 meters away.
Alright, our jammer is still here, so we can build here. Oops. Oh no, we're getting hacked. Alright, we got the hacker too. And nice, looks like the team is taking this objective, so... we can actually move up now. Let's take out this Nightbird, because he might sneak up on us and cause problems later. We're gonna ambush him. Boom, got him. Alright, fortunately we get hacked. I think someone's locking us, so we're gonna just play it safe and pop flares. When you're hacked and someone's locking you, you don't actually know if there's the missile's coming or not, so I would always pop flares. Alright, looks like we're losing C1 again. This enemy team's really persistent at our base objectives, so I'm gonna try to support the team as much as I can here. Make sure we don't run into that electrical tower. And figure out what is locking me and remove that problem. Alright, we need to run. Get on flares. Oops, the hack actually screwed up our movement there. Let's get back to our jammer here. Okay, I see the UH at B2. Maybe that's the next place to go. Yes, our team finally took these objectives. Now, we already have 40 kills, and the game's not even halfway done. Alright, he's hiding in there. Let's put our jammer back up here. Alright, let's do some flybys on B1 here. Ah, didn't work very well. Got some kills with the pods there, that's good. I think that's what Wildcat that's shooting at me. Alright, yeah, there's someone that's trying to Rorsch me, like using the railgun. So we're just going to face our back to him and slowly approach him. Alright, I think we picked the ant's nest a little bit. I do see a chopper up, he's right behind us, so... Oh no, I almost ran into the ground, that was almost bad. Alright, we bait him in, and then boom, he's dead. It's good. Oh, okay, yeah, this guy needs to die. Ah, he's gonna be a rat like that, unfortunately. Trying to prevent us from getting a crazy game. Alright, let's take out this bolt. Looks like our team is struggling with it. And looks like the UH is coming for us again, so... maybe not. Alright, I'm not going to go for that guy because he's going to keep hiding. So what I'm actually going to do is... oh shit. God, guys, the gunner's seat in this helicopter is just so good. Alright, let's go for this chopper here. This UH. Alright, I'm whipping my shots. It's okay, though. Got it there. Alright. That guy, that's good. I'm just gonna wait for my flares and then pop back up. Alright. So Flamer needs to die. Ooh, I almost got that guy, but we did not quite get him. Alright, use the Blasco to dodge that. Kill that engineer. And fly back here. He runs. It is really funny when they shoot a lock on at you and just immediately start running, so they know that it's coming. But there is no running from the Super Hokum. Okay, I'm looking for enemy choppers. I don't see. Okay, there he is. He's near my jammer. E2. I'm kind of hesitant to go after him because what if I go after him? He forces me to pop flares, and then I try to retreat, but I'm retreating into C1 and C2, which there's a bunch of enemies and lock-ons here, so don't think that's a good idea. Got that guy. I think it looks like they're expecting me to pop out at C2, so let's pop out at C1 here. I want to keep them guessing, so it takes longer for them to lock onto you. Someone on my team said to report me. It's not very nice. I'm just playing the video game. I don't understand. Oh no! Oh no, we crashed because of the hack. It like screwed up our controls, but thankfully we did not die. I kind of wish that our team weren't dominating so much so that I could get some more kills here, but always enjoy a win.
Distance 300 meters.
Alright, we got that guy. Ooh, some more. So we got a duck here. Alright, we're good. I didn't get that guy. I want to go for vehicles, but they're just not pushing. The enemy vehicles just aren't pushing out.
Distance 250 meters.
Alright, he popped APS. We gotta run. Back to our jammer. No! My game tabbed out and it got me killed. Oh my god, it was the AMD update. Oh my god. That's so unlucky. Alright, we got it back after that absolutely devastating loss. See if we can do some cleaning up here before the game ends. Alright. Just a mad rush for kills, basically. Oops, accidentally switched back twice in a row. It's a Liz missile. Oh, that's not good. Oh, what? I killed somebody with that! I lost control and killed somebody with that. What the f... That's actually insane. I'll take it. Alright, this guy here. I'm so screwed, I have no health. Oh, there he is. There we go. SVK. That's why you always put your Blascos down first, and also don't crash into electrical towers. 8 tickets left. 80 kills. I'm pretty satisfied with that. I mean, we definitely could have gotten 100 if the game didn't tab out like that. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed that. Just goes to show you don't necessarily need a gunner. So, yeah. And that's it for this guide, guys. I really do hope that it helped you all learn how to fly or improve your flying in the helicopters. Just remember to be patient, as these skills take practice over time to master. That's just how it goes. Anyways, this video took me a lot of time and effort to make, so if you did enjoy it, liking the video would be a perfect way to support me. Also, don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more Battlefield gameplay and guides going forward. I'm super excited for Battlefield 6, and I plan to make loads of videos once it releases. Peace out, everybody. Go take an AC and kick some ass for me.